Hey, did you know that you can query external data sources directly in Azure Data Explorer? The feature is called External Tables, and they enable ADX to reference data stored outside of the cluster, and therefore you can query the data without ingesting it into ADX first. When I learned this, it wasn't immediately obvious to me why I'd want to use the feature. But after doing some research and giving it some thoughts, I actually found massive benefits in 3 different scenarios. And it's the following. Number 1, the data is too large to be imported into ADX, and you need to perform ad hoc analysis or run some frequent queries on the data. Perhaps you want to wrangle data from multiple sources, but not necessarily store the raw data in ADX from the different sources. Number 2, the data is updated frequently and you want to avoid the overhead of constantly importing and updating the data in ADX. So this method, it saves you both time and money. And finally, number 3, you want to enforce data separation between the data owner and the data consumer. In this case, external tables enable you to use ADX for your data analysis work without running into governance or compliance issues. And now I hear you yell, boring! Yes, it is boring, but very important, and your team will thank you for this kind of knowledge. So you see, external tables are massively important to the ADX platform, and if your team uses ADX in your projects, you should definitely understand how to use external tables. So go grab a cup of coffee, and I'll see you in a minute for a nice demonstration. Promise, it's gonna be nice. Hi, welcome back. Okay, so external tables can come in 2 types. The first type is an external table over Azure storage, and that could either be BLOB storage or data lake. And now the second type is an SQL database, and it allows you to reference external SQL tables. So you have BLOB storage and you have SQL, those 2 types to choose between. In this demonstration, we are going to look at how to create external tables based on BLOB storage. Okay, so here on the left side of my screen, you can see that I've already prepared a storage account with a container called movies. And inside of this container, I have a bunch of folders, each one with a different year that movies were produced. And inside of the folders, I have JSON files of movie information. On the right side, you can see what one of these JSON files might look like. And the idea here is that we want to reference these JSON files in ADX through external tables without actually ingesting the data. And actually, besides JSON, different file types are also supported, such as CSV, Parquet, and Avro, and many others. But in this example, we just stick with a JSON. And now I finally want to show you how to reference this data through external tables. So here in the ADX UI, if we go to the Data tab right here and click on Create External Table. Now we want to give our external table a name. I will call mine External Movies. And we need to connect to the container. You can use a connection string, or you can just click Select Container here and it will automatically find it. And now you need to choose one of the files that you want your schema to be based on. But since all the files have the same schema, it doesn't matter what you pick here. And there you have it. ADX has automatically passed the schema of the JSON files and created a table out of it. But what I want to do as well is to click on Add Partition here. And the reason we want to create a partition is because it will massively improve the efficiency of ADX. Because if you want to fetch a list of 2021 movies, for example, ADX will only look in the 2021 folder and not look for movies elsewhere, and then only when it looks in the JSON file find out that it's the wrong date. So yeah, instead of looking at all the folders, it will only look at a single folder, and that's a massive increase in efficiency. And I'll call this production year. String is fine, and it's a virtual column and no prefix. So you can see that the path that it usually will take is /movies/production year. That's the same structure that we had here in the blob storage. So movies, year, and then the file name. That's the same here. Let's save that and create the table. Now we are done. We have an external table now. So let's try to query it and see what we get. So the syntax looks something like this. You have to specify external table and inside of it the name of your table, and then you can just take the top 10 rows. And here we have the data from the external table, and it's not saved here anywhere in ADX. The data still lives here in blob storage. Now let's say that we only want movies that were produced in the year 2010, like this, where to-int production equals 2000 and what did I say, 10? Can't remember. Now what Kusto did was to go in the folder 2010 directly and just return all of these files. It did not have to traverse through all the folders and all the files just to find the movies that were produced in the year 2010. So even though the data is fetched externally, this is a very efficient way of fetching it. And we did not store the data in ADX, and we are not maintaining the data in multiple places, and also we are not running into governance and compliance issues. So there you have it, external tables on ADX. By the way guys, did you know that ADX and Kusto are internal tools that Microsoft uses heavily themselves? And underlying most Azure services, Kusto is actually working behind the scenes. And did you know that it initially wasn't built for me and you? Apparently, ADX does such an incredible job handling enormous amounts of data that they later decided that Azure customers also would find it beneficiary to use, and so they launched ADX to the public. I'm actually working with Microsoft to tell you that story and explain Kusto and ADX in depth. If you work with Azure at all, you must watch that video, as it can give you indications on how Azure works under the hood and make you a much better cloud engineer as a result. And if the video is already out there by the time that you watch this one, you can click here to watch it. Otherwise, make sure to subscribe if you want to get notified when it comes out. So that's all for now guys. Thank you. Bye.